Hello, I am Thomas Laurie, and today I'll be doing a screencast on effective instruction. So, for the agenda today, first I'll be looking at instruction in physical education. Then I'll be looking at instructional sequencing, so that's more focusing like on planning, followed by academic language. After that, I'll dissect differentiate instruction and scaffolding, and then after that, I'll do EdTPA central focus. And this will all be with the physical education focus on it. So first, instruction in physical education. So instruction in physical education is skills based. So we want the students to be developing a lot of skills. So whether that's in a basketball unit, we want them to be able to dribble a ball, or in a soccer unit, we want them to dribble or develop their coordination skills, or a lot of these skills that we want them to develop. Next, we also want them doing a lot of engagement and participation. So we want them moving around a lot, because a lot of studies have came out and shown um, how much uh, it helps your brain if you're moving around and exercising and doing different things like that. Um, and as well as just being social with your students. So we want to get them working together, participating in different groups. Um, and that goes into my next point, which is different groups. You want to have a lot of different ways that you can group students. Don't have students just participating with their same brands every single time. You want them to um, engage with other students and expand their perspectives and things like that. And the way that we do that is by first explaining what our objective is for the day. Uh, then we'll follow it by demonstrating, modeling while explaining. So a lot of the times I'll have a student demonstrate what we're trying to get out of the activity, while I'm kind of explaining it and slowly walking through it with students. Provide feedback. This goes both ways. Having students provide feedback for your lessons, as well as giving them feedback on how they can continue to develop and get better at their skills, as well as just participation in different things like that. Just as an athlete and just as a student as a whole. And then followed by, also we want to assess them to see how much they're growing. So next we're going to look at how we sequence our instructions in physical education, and that's really just, to me, that's just a fancy word of saying planning and how you plan for your instruction. Um, so I always plan by I want to keep student movement focused, so I want to make sure that the students are moving around a lot. I usually only have, with dress out time and getting to taking attendance and things like that, we usually only have about 30 minutes of actual time in class where we're working and doing different things. So I want to make sure that the students are actually moving around for about 20 to 25 minutes during their class, just because in their classes they have to sit so much and they don't get to move around very much throughout the day. And like I said, how studies have shown how beneficial it is to move. So I want to get the students moving around a lot. So that makes sure that I can't have too detailed or too long of instructions for what I'm going over in the day. I have to kind of just go back to providing little comments of feedback while they're actually participating and moving around. And that kind of goes into the backwards planning that I do, which is kind of just understanding and having a focus of what the goal is for the lesson, how or what I want the students to be able to do at the end of the lesson, and be able to achieve. And then if I need to, I'll research ideas and different activities for ways that I can be able to help students reach those goals. Um, so I always want to keep in mind also what's the objective, purpose, or goal of the lesson for the day. That helps with making sure that the activities can connect well to that. We want to, a lot of the times it's going to be building on a skill development that we've done in the previous class, um, or in a different unit. There's different things that you can connect. So we always want to make sure that we're connecting things. Um, and then lastly, we want to differentiate instructions and make sure that we're challenging students. So that way they don't get bored, or they keep staying engaged. Next is academic language. There's disciplinary vocabulary, unit vocabulary, discourse. And the way that we do that is by demonstrating, collaborating, analyzing, and reflecting. So disciplinary vocabulary is more like running, passing, things that you do as a whole in PE, like words that you'll use as a whole that students need to know. Unit vocabulary is just a little bit more specific. So, for instance, um, in soccer or in basketball, if you want to pass, you got to make sure that you say that chest pass or bounce pass. So you got to like specify it a little bit more, and that's what unit vocabulary is. A lot of it is nonverbal language that students are giving. So it's demonstrations. It's working together with their teammates to reach a common goal. So a lot of it is demonstration in nonverbal academic language that's being done in physical educations. We want to make sure that they're collaborating a lot. A lot of it is working with others, and then they're able to analyze what they've actually done in the class and how it affected them and things like that. Differentiate instruction and scaffolding. The way that I do this the most is checking in with students. So the students that need a little bit more guidance, a little bit more support. After I've gone over and sent the students out to being active and doing different activities for the day, I always want to make sure that I check in with the certain students that I know need a little bit extra guidance and support. So that comes with just getting to know your students over the course of the year. But I think that's really important, especially when I'm teaching a group of 40 students in a wider area. That a lot of times they can start to misbehave or do things that aren't beneficial for themselves, and so you want to be able to help them out and guide them. Next, I also provide a lot of activities where students have choice on what they think is needed for most to develop and help them out the most. So, for instance, I did a basketball activity towards the end of our unit where they could do either a dribbling, a passing, or a shooting, or a gameplay. So they had 4 different options where they could choose which skill they wanted to develop, and so that provides a little bit of choice there. Also, a lot of the times we have to modify the gameplay. So if we see that the game's not being performed and the way that we would like to, or we think that's beneficial for the students, then we'll have to kind of change up the games, and that way we're getting all the engagement that we want. As well as modify equipment. A lot of the times we'll have to use like a lighter or softer ball, so that way students want to participate and they're not scared of the ball. And lastly, we'll be focusing on the EdTPA central focus for physical education. So it's demonstrate skills, demonstrate skill development, exercise, brain growth development, flexibility, coordination, endurance, and strength. Excuse me. So, in our focus, it's gonna be, I wasn't exactly sure what you were looking for here. But a lot of the times this is what we want students to get out, and this is what we'll be testing and assessing them for. So we want to make sure that we focus in our instruction on these things here. So we want to make sure that students are improving their flexibility, coordination, endurance, and strength, and that comes with throughout the lessons and activities that we do. Overall, that's what I have for you, and I hope you enjoy. Take care.